Have you ever had the thought, if only things could be easier? If only I didn't have to struggle so much? Because I know in my own life, I've encountered this kind of thought many, many times. And I recognize that there are certain privileges that I've had access to that have shielded me from certain struggles and certain problems coming up in my own life. But I don't believe that that means that we are shielded from struggling as a concept, from the process of overcoming things in our lives that are uncomfortable and that have a certain amount of pain associated with them. I think always, for everyone, in every place, there is a gradient of suffering. There is a gradient of struggle, of course. But to shy away from struggling as an idea, I think is largely detrimental, not only to the progress that we are yet to be able to make, but also to the kind of character that we are cultivating in the process of our day-to-day actions. For those of us living in a first world developed country, the kinds of struggle that we would engage with on a day-to-day basis is of a completely different texture, tone, and magnitude as compared to certain other individuals living in certain other areas of the world. However, I don't believe that due to this fact that we should be disregarding the kinds of struggles that we engage with on a day-to-day basis. And of course, these change depending upon each individual's circumstances. Unfortunately, there are still some kinds of discrimination and other issues that arise based on an individual's race or gender or other defining characteristic feature. But nonetheless, regardless of the specific scope and scale of our individual situation, it's all struggle. We can't escape from it. If there's any one defining feature that is common amongst all humans, is it struggle. And some might try to make the argument that there are individuals in this world that never have to deal with that. But I would actually argue that it's only certain kinds of struggle that are shielded from certain individuals, and certain kinds of struggles that are unfortunately levied on certain groups of people. And in this way, it isn't to disregard or disrespect or try to hide the realities that certain people are facing. All this is an attempt to say is that if we think that we have a ticket to a life without any struggle, it's simply impossible. It's illogical and, in large part, irrational. So if we can't avoid struggle in our lives, then what are we supposed to do? For me, I feel like the first step is an acknowledgement, an acceptance of the situation that we find ourselves in. Greater levels of self-awareness and awareness of our environment is only going to be beneficial in being able to make better and better decisions as we continue to progress and work through the struggles that we are facing. And this might sound like complete common sense, and that's because it is. Trying to find out more about ourselves and our environment to then be able to make better choices is simple, absolutely, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. There's certain aspects of our personality or that our character over the years that we've developed as a result of certain traumas or insecurities that have cropped up based on certain events that have happened, or certain relationships that we have been engaged with for the wrong reasons. All of these things are very simple to fix, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be easy to fix. It doesn't mean that we're not going to struggle with fixing them or with resolving them. To give you a concrete and, let's say, safe example of this, I think about some recent and upcoming events with regard to Kudo for me. A little while ago, there was a tournament that my Kudo club was a part of. It was for the 10th anniversary of the French Kudo Association. And so essentially, we would take a bunch of shots, and then it would almost be like an intra-club competition, and then we would send off those scores as a part of this kind of international invitational. But I found myself struggling quite a lot throughout the process. And it might have been because we had a guest there and that it was my first kind of brush with a more proper tournament experience. But regardless, I feel like I let myself get into my own head a little bit too much. And I think it's very easy to do that. A couple of the things that happened was I started to overdraw. Very common if we're trying to really show our best and do our best and try to go to the edges of our physical capabilities, especially if we find ourselves getting stronger and stronger, but our bow's weight remains the same. If we don't have a correct posture that locks in regardless of the weight of the bow, then this is likely to happen. And so that happened to me. And I had a couple of comments about it, being that the arrow was a little bit too close to the bow, and there are certain issues associated with that. And so that was the first kind of tick for the day of struggle. And so then I thought, great, I'll try and recalibrate, do things a little bit differently. For the first time, I then hit myself in the face with the string, which, as you can imagine, is not an extraordinarily comfortable experience to have. And then I started underdrawing. I tried to overcompensate for the overdrawing, which then led to more issues. And so the point of bringing up this story is that even though we have our best intentions, we're wanting to do such cool and good things, there's always going to be moments where something comes up, some difficulty that we might not have been able to expect or anticipate. And we simply have to work through it the best that we can. I know in that moment, during that tournament, that I wasn't really able to make much progress. I wasn't able to really figure out what was properly going wrong and change it. But that's why this journey isn't a single day. It isn't a single event that we have to figure everything out. It's a process. And as long as we continue on being able to cultivate progress and our own development over a period of time, as long as we slowly get better and better, that's all that really matters. We can't hope to solve everything in a single day. But we can hope to make some pretty good progress over a period of time. And keeping that perspective in mind, keeping the perspective of the timeline that we find ourselves on, I think is an important one. And now I find myself on the cusp of a very exciting moment with the Australian Kudo Association holding our own 10-year anniversary Taikai and seminar, which will be my first opportunity to engage with a more proper in-person competition tournament with people from other clubs and countries as compared to just the intra-club things or the virtual invitationals that we've been a part of in the past. Alongside the seminar, which I'm extraordinarily excited for, as for countries outside of Japan or that don't have our own sensei or high-ranking practitioners, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to glean certain insights and receive certain guidance and advice that we might not have otherwise been able to receive from the people within our own clubs. And as some of you might have already realized, I'm actually wearing the brand new AKA merch with the new logo as a kind of way to commemorate this auspicious event and to show my excitement and gratitude for this opportunity. But the struggle never stops. The struggle is a part of the process. The way in which we engage with the struggle, I think, is the important part. The way in which we honor and respect the beauty of the struggle is another important part. So in a way, I guess this was a kind of long-winded reminder of how important struggle is to internal and external evolution and revolution. So here we are at the end of the video. First of all, congratulations. You've made it this far. A very small percentage of people that watch these videos ever make it this far. So you've done a fabulous job. Very well done. But I'm sure that I would have missed out on certain things that I wanted to remember to say that I didn't quite fully elaborate on in the way or at all that I wanted to. So if you have any questions, queries, or anything you'd like to add, then please put that down in the comments. I always love to get in there and have a little conversation. But if you're wanting a little bit more of a back and forth dialogue, then the place that I would humbly recommend would be the new Discord server that is now starting to get a little bit of traction, a little bit of engagement, which I'm hoping to do a lot more to be able to work in and develop as time goes on and as this community kind of continues to be cultivated further and further. So I'd obviously love to see you there. And if you're wanting to stay up to date with my more kind of day-to-day movements and things that I'm doing, then I'll also put my Instagram in the description as well. But, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for being here, and do more than you think you can.